Welcome, friends, to today's meditation time. I invite you to get comfortable. Whatever your day has had within it, just let it all go. If there was busyness, if there was stillness, if there were good, happy moments, if there were challenging moments. As you get comfortable here, just imagine taking this seat or stretching out long if you're lying down. Imagine it being this gesture of, today is done, and here I am in this present moment. Finding comfort in this present moment. We start off finding it physically, and then eventually that comfort passes through all parts of us. And we realize that the present moment is right where we belong. So as you let yourself do that, just begin to slow the breath just a little, very intentionally watching that breath just come in and then watching it go out. Slowly breathing in and slowly breathing out. One more breath together. Deep breath in. Full breath out. And maybe there is even comfort in this rate of breath that you have found for yourself. So here we are in this present moment. We have been journeying through the verses of the Yoga Sutra, specifically this chapter that's called the practice chapter. Taking in all of these lessons and teachings from Patanjali that we can actually use in our life today. I always picture Patanjali sitting very much in the style of the Greeks, just in this spot in the city center, and everyone just coming, just waiting to hear these lessons that had come to him and that he was ready to share. And there weren't books like we have now. There weren't Zoom meetings and teachings available to us or to them like there are to us. There was just time to show up, to listen with an open heart, and to see what the present moment had for each of them. And for them, it came through the wisdom that Patanjali shared, but they still had to show up. They still had to be open. And the beautiful thing is, that's exactly what it looks like for us today. Our methods may be different, but there's still a showing up. There is still this idea of coming with an open spirit, an open mind, an open heart, and finding comfort in this present moment just as they did thousands of years ago. And so as we have embarked through all these teachings of this practice chapter, here we are at the last verse. And he's just finished telling us about pratyahara, this sensory restraint, this sensory withdrawal, this idea of feeling what needs to be felt, seeing what needs to be seen, tasting, smelling, hearing, taking it all in, and coming back to the present moment as we let it go. Not letting those senses send us down paths before we even realize where we've gone. Not letting those senses distract us from the beauty of the present moment. And most definitely not letting those senses create more and more chatter in our heads where there already seems to be so much. And so in this last verse of what's called this sadhana pada, this practice chapter, Patanjali says, and I'm going to quote it directly from the translation, he says, therefore, by practicing this pratyahara, you will have perfected the highest mastery of understanding. Therefore, by practicing this pratyahara, you will have perfected the highest mastery of understanding. And I wonder if way back 2,500 years ago, as he shared these words, most likely in Sanskrit, that each of those people listening, maybe even like us, what we hear is the end of it. This highest mastery of understanding. We want that, right? We want to know, we want to understand, we want the wisdom. But the premise of this says, therefore, by practicing pratyahara, then you get the mastery, you get the understanding. And so what he's telling us is, I've spent all this time teaching you these practices, and I'm about to teach you more things in the coming days, but right now, I want you to know that it's not just a practice for the sake of practicing. These are not just rules that we follow, but rather they have impact. And when you can understand your senses, you can feel them and see them and taste them and smell them and experience them and not let them draw you away from the stillness and the peace of this present moment. He says, when you have practiced that and you've got it down, then comes this beautiful, perfected mastery of understanding. I was sitting with a word in Sanskrit this morning in my own practice, and I think it applies here. Even though Patanjali didn't give it to us in this verse, there's a word in Sanskrit that's called viveka. Viveka. And what it means is deep discernment. This kind of discernment that it's not just your intuition, it's not just your gut, it comes from a deep place of wisdom in your soul. You are so connected to Source, to this divine presence, and however you define that to be, that your ability to discern is rock solid. And I know those are my English words to translate it, but I can't think of a better way of just, it's not that I know, it's not that you know, it's that we know. It has nothing to do with our knowledge. But this deep understanding that Patanjali is talking about, this perfected mastery, I think it's the same thing as this viveka. This deep, soul-fed discernment. And for some of you, maybe you equate that to the voice of God. And you hear and you know. And for some of you, you equate that to this beautiful connection that you feel when you are in nature, like you are part of the cosmos, and you just know. And so whatever it looks like for you, it's not so important about the name that you ascribe to it. It's the sensations that you know are so deeply embedded into the core of who you are. Imagine making decisions from that place. Imagine feeling and seeing and hearing and tasting and never losing sight of that place. Something comes in and it pricks our sense. We feel it, we taste it, we smell it, all the things. But we are so deeply connected to that discernment in our soul that we cannot even fathom letting those senses take us somewhere that we don't intend to go. We can't fathom letting those senses create unnecessary chatter in our head because we are so connected to viveka, the deep discerning of knowing that has nothing to do with knowledge and facts. It has to do with your soul. The core of who you are, this us that we keep trying to work our way back toward. But these senses, they keep pulling us away. But I think it's interesting that most of the translations that I have found for this particular sutra start with the word therefore. So I think what he's saying is you got to pay attention to all the things I have said to this point. And then there's this semicolon. And in English, we know that the semicolon means that we're not quite done. So there's a semicolon, and then he says, therefore, now that you, through the practice of pratyahara, have got these senses under control, now go experience that deep mastery of understanding. And I don't know about you, but I think that's a pretty great promise to hold on to really keep me alert to what these senses are doing. I want to hear the birds. I want to smell the flowers. I want to feel the warmth of a blanket across my skin. But what I want is for those things to just add to the beauty of the present moment, not allow me to get lost and pulled away from it. And so let's just pause here and just reflect on that for just the next little bit. Therefore, now that you are practicing pratyahara, go feel that deep understanding, that viveka, that discernment that abides deep in your soul. Continuing to breathe and be in this present moment. Begin to picture your senses like horses. You are in the chariot holding the reins, and the reins are all of these teachings. We hold in our hands the solution, the answer to keeping those horses going the right way. But it's up to us if we're going to use them. And we know how the metaphor goes. If the driver doesn't hold the reins and use them in the right way, the horses go where their horses will go, regardless of what the intention of the driver was. So just know this whole chapter of this sadhanapada, these practices that he's given us, the breath, the seated posture, feeling grounded and steady, the practice of ahimsa, of not harming, the practice of moving our body with intention, and the practice of pratyahara, of keeping hold of those reins and letting those horses take us where we are intended to go. So just sit with that as you go through the next few days. Feel evidence of that deep mastery of understanding, that deep discernment. You may not feel it for long periods of time, but as you pause, you'll begin to catch glimpses of it again and again, and you'll realize it's not elusive. It's not something he's just talking about for the ascetics, the monastics, the priest. He's talking about it for you and me. Pratyahara. The reins are in our hands. It's up to us to use them. Namaste.